And welcome everyone to what is our third episode, but it's actually for the fifth episode of Andor. All three of you watching this, because I am fully aware that no one is watching this show.
No one's listening to this podcast. So
No one's watching this show. Yeah, this is my thing.
not to be,
But,
not to
as always, I'm Mitch. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 692tweets and 692pics. And of course, I'm joined by Sean.
Hey, you can join me on Instagram at Marvel the Martian _12.
Now, I can't promise anything's going to happen in this show because
Heavy breathing and snoring, and that's it.
Thing actually happening in Andor. Right. The clock moves one more minute to midnight. Right. We are now 1 minute. We are 11:59 on the Armageddon.
Doomsday, the Doomsday clock goes
for
for
me in this show. I said it before. This episode genuinely. I'm not outright annoyed. Like I'm slightly irked at the show, right? I'm not like gonna.
I mean, that's better, right?
It's
slightly better.
But this show has the audacity to be 12 episodes, and they want 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think that's the major problem for this show.
Yeah. I think you're lucky if that. I'm going to be surprised if season 3 happens. I'm going to put it that way. I know they're doing 2 right now, but if season 3 happens, I'm going to be genuinely surprised. But this episode was nothing.
Like, it's a lot of exposition and a lot of talking about something that's going to happen.
Right. This is when I was really trying to watch this show, right? I'm really damn trying. I promise you, I am trying so hard for this show. They cut to Mon Mothma in this episode while they're walking 3 foot across a field, right? They cut to Mon Mothma, and like her husband asks her the name of someone, and then they cut back, and that's the entire scene. I'm like, what's going on?
Well, I think.
That bit stuck out to me so badly, and I'm just like, what?
Well, I think the weakest parts of any, like, and I'm saying this in my opinion, the weakest parts. I know the weakest parts for you is like the whole episode, but the weakest parts of these show is the Mount Mothra parts. I don't have any interest in any of that stuff. I mean, it's interesting in a like a bureaucratical way, I guess. But like, I'm not interested. So the show is basically setting up the rebellion from the start.
Yeah,
right?
but this is,
and that's the problem, though, right?
Yeah,
that's
because they've set, this is the 12th time they've set up the rebellion, and I understand that the way I like the way the rebellion comes about. Right, it's not all just. It's different factions coming together, right? It's democratic in its way. So they all come together and they all like, no, the many overthrow the one. It's literally fascism and democracy and all that, right? I appreciate that sense, but how many times are we going to see it?
I think the biggest problem for the show is the episode count, because I think you can cut a lot of this stuff out.
Because this one specifically for me is 5 minutes at the end of last week.
Yeah, I think that's another problem, is like every episode kind of blends together, because it's like there's a lot of conversation, and it's a lot of conversation about a thing that people want to see, right? They want to see the heist. That's the exciting part.
Yeah. I'm being strung along for the one thing this show's going to actually do. I'm almost halfway through the season.
Well, I think the heist should have happened now, by the 3rd episode, and
100%. It should have been the first 3 come out. I can give you leeway on those first 3 for coming out and setting up everything right. 4 and 5 should have been the heist.
Yeah, and then. I am kind of interested in them cutting to the guy that kind of fumbled the ball at the beginning.
The guy with the clone trooper hot toy in the background, the sad cup. Because I caught that hot toy in that background. I spotted that a mile away.
And that's not mine, by the way.
Like the thing wasn't even
yeah,
in focus, and I was like, I know what that is. Right, straight away, I loved it.
yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes. I like the intrigue with the lady. That's intriguing because I want to see where that goes. I think the Mon Mothra stuff needed to go. I think that's just you can have her in the show, but I think cutting all that family problem stuff
Uh,
is just way. I don't like it. I
my thing
don't.
is
It's
right.
boring.
When they first introduced the husband, I was like, you know what, there might be something here. Like, this show might finally give him something to latch onto, right? But then he turns out to be this colossal dick who just wants to hang around with the fascists because they're fun and his friends. And I'm like, I've lost all interest.
Yeah,
You've lost me now. Like, no. Like, and I
he's
understand
just.
this. Like, I understand and appreciate the story they're trying to tell with that, because they're trying not to like
Yeah, I feel like
pussyfoot
he's
around.
gaslighting her a
Like,
lot.
I mean, he's definitely gaslighting, but the way they're handling it, it's like they're not pussyfooting around the politics anymore, right?
Yeah,
It's like no,
yeah,
she's going through an experience that a lot of families in America went through in the last few years,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
politics are literally dividing and breaking families up, and like this is them showing you like their take for that. Like, hey, this
yeah.
happens in Star Wars too. I appreciate that. It's just, you know,
It,
I think
interesting
out of
idea.
anyone. Now, out of anyone in the show, Mon Mothra has a place. Like, she should be
Yeah.
in this show. I
Well,
just
no, it's
wish
an
she.
interesting. Oh, sorry. I would say
I
it's an interesting idea with the politics dividing the family, but I think the execution is not good. I just
yeah, I
don't.
agree. Yeah,
I think it. I think. Yeah, I don't think that she does not have a place in the show. I just think that the place that they have her in is just kind of mishandled. I don't know. It's just
hmm.
like it's hard to see where you can see where this character is going to be at in decades after this. Like I just don't picture it. Like I don't picture
Yeah,
her being the person that is like leading the rebellion. It's just I don't know. And maybe it's just because it doesn't capture my because I don't know how this feels because politics with my family is not huge. It's not a
yeah,
huge
yeah.
thing where it's like I don't think it's resonating with me because of that. Like my family pretty much agrees with me, where I'm at, politically. But
Yeah. I
but
mean, I've been like that. Right? I'm like the, the only person in, it's not even an immediate family, right? My uncle's like married to a Russian, and he has been for like the last
oh
10
wow,
years. And you can kind of think of
yeah,
what's going on right now, and she's.
and what she has to say about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it on here. You can kind of maybe put two and two together, but it's a bit like
Ouch.
it's a bit
Yeah.
like, oh my god, like
Really?
never met her, right? I haven't seen my uncle in like at least 10 years, but like
That's
spoken
probably
to her,
why,
she's a
right?
nice, no, 'cause, like, she's a nice enough person, right? Like there's a, but like it's yeah,
Yeah.
there is that, but like they haven't been like they disagree. They haven't been like split up or
Yeah.
anything. So like that's a successful story in that situation, right? But it's like
Oh yeah. Very
I
small.
can like, I can relate to it on some extent because obviously
Yeah.
there's that factor. But immediate family, like, no, we've never really disagreed in politics anyway. Like maybe
Yeah.
one or two things. I say things
Like I
should be
said,
free. They say no, work
yeah.
for it. And I'm like, I don't want to work. Give
Yeah.
me food for free. No,
Like
but
what I like about the show is like it's trying something different. Whether it's succeeding or
I
not,
can
that's
appreciate
different
that.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different story for another
Mm.
day. But like I appreciate the fact that they're kind of breaking the stereotype of Star Wars in general. Like because it I mean the only time that you've gotten this was it with the prequels where it was a lot of bureaucratical stuff, but it was kind of cartoony.
I mean,
And it was
the Mandalorian. Admittedly, the
yeah, but
Mandalorian,
to an extent.
it started out, breaking what Star Wars is, and then kind of very quickly
Yeah,
folded back into, hey, we're Star Wars. Not that I'm going to
but I
hold it
mean,
against it. I love that show, but like
yeah,
it became
no,
part of the
yeah.
mold quite quickly. But like this is definitely, this
I think
doesn't feel like Star Wars in the slightest,
yeah, it
despite
feels
being
like
very Star Warsy. No.
yeah, and I think that has to do with the fact that it doesn't have anything really in common with it except for names and
Names
factions
and
and stuff like that.
aesthetic. The
Yeah,
aesthetic's very much in line, but
but like I can appreciate, and that's why I appreciate the show. Is like I appreciate. I'm gonna stick with it personally to see where it goes. Um,
I'm gonna stick with it. No,
Obi-Wan.
as I said, I'm giving. It's got until next week. If something don't happen, then we ain't doing the show.
Yeah,
If something happens,
it's
then
canceled.
we'll
It's been
be
canceled.
back for the finale. Like I'll see if I can get Jared on and we'll talk about it. 'Cause I know he absolutely loves it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm checking out his reviews every week to see if I'm,
hmm
I feel like
Well,
I'm missing something, right?
this.
I'm not getting something
Well, I
about
think.
this show because the people that I know that watch it, which very few by the way, not to dug on it, but I feel like I'm missing something because they love it so much. But I
Yeah.
know other
Well.
people that aren't online, like aren't terminally
Yeah.
online myself, that adore literally will watch everything Star Wars. They adore everything. You say one thing against Star Wars, it's literally Jared, but just not online, right?
Yeah. Well, I think
And
this kind of
he's
fits
not
in Jared's
like.
wheelhouse, though.
I mean, 100%, yeah. And
This is
admittedly,
like
this
right
would
up
have
his alley.
been like this was definitely not the wheelhouse for who I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
if you're watching this high, you know who you are.
Yeah.
But he's not
Clue.
watching it, and
Yeah.
he's just like, I don't. He's like, I don't. It's Andor. I don't give a crap. He's like me. He's like, I just. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And
I,
like, it's
I
no.
I
I
think.
see no one talking about this show, and I kind of
Yeah. Well,
see why.
I still think it's the count of the episode that is really hurting the show. I think if it was an 8 episode to 6 episode, you wouldn't get these episodes that
No,
are like.
this show needed to be 6.
Yeah,
This
I think it was a little ambitious that they had
I think
up
it's
the counts.
audacious the fact that you even tried. No.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to try it before you know if it succeeds or not. I
I mean, there's
admirate
that. Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
whomever is doing this because it's really taking it. This is taking a chance. This is what taking a chance really looks like. Like this is a show that has a lot of resistance to begin with because of the character in general. And now it's building up more resistance because it's not exactly what people are used to, and like
Yeah.
it has an uphill battle. But I think in
But do
the
you know
end,
what I think? Just to interrupt you, sorry. I think
that's
I don't like being this guy. I say, oh, this should have been about someone else. I genuinely think this show should have been more Book of Boba Fett. This is a direction that show should have taken,
yeah,
and that's the kind of
yeah.
show that I think was sold to people from the trailers. And Book of Boba, like the style of Bob, like of Bob to anagram it, should have
The Boba
been
Fett.
what Andor was.
No, I agree in a way. I think there's a lot of missteps with the Book of Boba Fett. I think it was again a little bit ambitious to the fact that people might watch it because it's the character
Yeah,
and not
it got a bit
really.
goofy, but it gave me a baby rancor, and I can't complain.
Yeah, I think by the end of that season, I think it really kind of redeemed itself in a way. It didn't fully redeem itself, but it did kind of like. I think the problem with not to go in.
The show. Boba Fett did the right thing and hit the Mando panic button.
Yeah, well, I
It's
think
like no,
I, I
bring
always
in Din Djarin.
every time that I think about Boba Fett, I get a chuckle because it's basically Boba Fett going for he's becoming a civil servant. That's basically what he's doing.
Yeah,
It's Boba
I'm the
Fett becoming a
sheriff
civil
now.
servant. Um, but exactly. But I think by the end it redeemed itself. But back to Andor, I think if Andor, I think that this is kind of the DNA of the character, anyways, because the character was built on Rogue One as
I
like a
completely agree,
spy.
but not for the same reason.
I think he was a spy, and I think they played. I think they're trying to play to the fact that I don't know. I'm trying to word this correctly. I think spies are fun when you talk about it, but when you watch it, it's not as fun as people think it is. It's a very, 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 very boring job. Like I've talked to people that are, I don't know, not spies, but they know what spies are. Like
Yeah,
CIA, both. It's like it's a very, very boring job. It's not like fancy pants where they have
I
like
don't know if
James
you ever
Bond.
watched Spy Family, like that
That's
makes
true. Oh, that's the
spies look
underlier.
like that show's adorable. It's
It's
wholesome.
very
Like
colorful.
it's
That's
I
the
love that show.
underlier. I mean, that's the very exciting part. They're only focusing on one part of being a spy, but
I
like,
mean that's
this
very
is.
true, but
Um,
it's adorable.
but I think it's very ambitious. I think the show is it's trying to do something that it's been rarely done with Star Wars, and it's to degrees of success. You know, in my view, you know, there's degrees of success. You know, I have the benefit of watching ahead of time, so I kind of know what's going on, and I know it might happen. But you know,
might. You know what happens.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But like I think I still maintain the fact that the episode count is a very hindrance to the show. You know, and that's the biggest problem. You know, I think you cut this down to 8 to 6, you're good, man. You know, like you don't get the. I'm not using the word filler because it's not the correct word, but like you're not getting these episodes that are just like dialogue. You know.
Yeah, because they literally just dragged their feet for 3 meters here.
Yeah,
like, really?
That's true.
It's like what got me was right. You know, I got no problem with like the character interactions and all that. When the guy gets the Kyber off of Andor's neck and he's like, the kick starts that whole argument. Yeah, great. That should have happened at the start.
And yeah.
That should have been the first interaction they had. Why is that happening now? Like in my head, things are like not say that I could have done it better, but in my head, like things are just out of order, and I'm like, no, that's something you do at the start of the interaction, right? Like, who's this guy? Why is he here for money? Like, but that's just me. It just.
I digress.
I feel like I don't know where this show is going. I know the end result for the character. I don't know where this show is going because nothing's happened. We was halfway through and literally nothing's been like. We want you for a heist. Cool.
Who are you? Cool.
Yeah.
You know,
like, why should I give a crap about this little ragtag group of rebels that he's been like dumped with? Why should I give a crap about Skarsgård? And admittedly, his shop is fantastic. I wish we could talk about that thing more, but we can't. It's like I'm just.
I agree with you with the dragging the feet metaphor. It's a perfect analogy for what's going on. I think there's a lot of like, we're gonna go over here, and then we're gonna go over here, and then we're gonna over here. You know, and it's all relatively in the same vicinity. You know, and
we're gonna climb this green hill so we can get to that green hill.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go mug off the people in that grey base next to that green hill. It's like, okay.
And then every once in a while, a TIE fighter passes by.
Which, by the way, I will. So it's not all negative. I like the use of the ships. Yeah. Like that they made that TIE fighter like genuinely intimidating for the first time since the 70s when Star Wars came out. Right, like TIE fighter was it's just like this one little TIE, and it's like what like is it gonna start shooting? Like what's going on? And just like screeches past, and like they're covering their ears because it's so damn loud. Like I really liked that part, like, the little details and how they're doing things.
Yeah,
I like there are parts of this show that I do enjoy, but
the aesthetic is great. It's just storytelling is a little.
This feels like this was supposed to be a movie.
Yeah,
it's like we had when they were doing the whole anthology movies, right? It's like, right, well, we've got Boba Fett, that was going to be a movie. We've got Obi-Wan and we got Andor. It's like, right, well, Boba Fett will try cutting the script up this way. Right, well, we learned from that, so let's make Kenobi this way. Actually, no, we'll just check. We'll make Kenobi how it should be anyway. This is like, right, how do we actually stretch an hour and a half over 8 hours? Or have
the answer is walking up a hill for 2 episodes.
It's like we're gonna really drag out these scenes. It should be less than 5 minutes.
Sidebar about the TIE fighter. When I first seen the TIE fighter when I was a kid, I thought it was a kitchen utensil. No lie, I thought it was some type of like plate or something like that. You know,
it does look like a table. In fairness, like if you put it on its side, it's 100% some kind of table. Yeah,
it looks like one of those like wooden like things where you roll up the wire but people use them for tables.
Yes, the little spindle
That's
stuff.
What it looks like.
Yeah, wow, it genuinely does look like that.
Side note.
I say that after watching Star Wars for my smile. No, I've never thought of a spindle.
And now you just flip it over and it's a spindle table, you know. But you know, I love the visuals, and you could tell that it's an actual filmmaker involved with the show, and that's where I think you're right about it being a movie because it's
Hmm.
like you got Tony Gilroy, which is he's a cinematic guy. Like you watch some of his older movies, and it's a very cinematic, action packed. I think once you turn it into a TV show, and then you add 6 more episodes that doesn't need to be there, and yeah, I think it's definitely the count, and I think there's a fundamental problem with the script, or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. It's very self-indulgent from the creative standpoint.
But side note, it was supposed to be a movie. You didn't hear that from me.
I mean, yeah.
You could tell, right? Yeah, I mean, but that, like, once you said that, I was like, nah.
I mean, in fairness,
right.
with their entire slate, it's like, yeah, these were supposed to be movies, right? Like when they did. No, everyone knows the story of how the Mandalorian was supposed to be the Boba Fett movie, and then they repurposed it into that. Like, it was kind of a given and like an open secret. Well, I thought it was an open secret that these movies were, or these shows were the movies that were going to come out. And thank God they didn't just like. They should have made Andor into a movie and put it out there, because at least Solo wouldn't be the lowest making one.
Hey, I love Solo, man. I have a special place for that movie.
It's a movie that exists that I enjoyed more than Rogue One.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Everything I've heard is that Lord Miller is not any better. And
I've got no doubt. I always think stuff happens for a reason, and I genuinely believe that the Lord Miller one was a pilot.
Yeah. I mean, look, Lord Miller are great, but I think that what they presented with that movie is like, no wonder they had to scrap everything and redo everything. It's like there's a point. Mm-hmm. Nobody spends double the budget to redo something if it's a good movie. They just say, hey, we're going to give you credit. You're not on the project anymore, but you are part of the,
you are blacklisted from Lucasfilm. Goodbye.
Well, that's again, different story, different day, but they cut the bridges a lot with those interviews. So, but anyways, I completely agree.
I just,
I have nothing else to say.
No, I find it very. They put me off this show right from the start, right? When it's like, it's going to be 5 seasons and this and that and that. I'm like, no.
That's an investment, man.
You do not go into a show on streaming and do this. Like, yes, it's nice to have a plan, but make sure people like what you're doing first.
Yeah, I think going out and saying that was kind of cutting the head off the.
Yeah, I don't know. I say it again. I'm trying with this show. I'm not going into each week being like, oh my God, why am I watching this? I'm like, this is the week it's going to actually begin. But they don't want to start. Like they're just like chugging like the anti-storm on the line. And they're just going.
As much as I love the show, I have to agree with you on this, because it's like there's 2 episodes of them just moving 5 feet in front of each other, and at some point you're gonna go like, well, I mean, the action has to hit some way or shape or form, because you're talking about this.
It's not even, it's not even necessarily a lack of action thing, right? It's the show's given me nothing to latch onto character wise. Apart from Skarsgård's character, like he's a bit intriguing, but it's not enough for me to really give a crap in a minute, right? But I'm more interested in the stuff he has as opposed to him. And like he's this group of nobodies, and you're not even really get that they're all the same character, apart from the kid who just. There was a whole conversation. He was just like slapping blocks together, and I'm like, "What am I watching right now?"
Well, I think the problem is like you talk 2 episodes about this big heist it's impossible heist that you had to have. You have to show something. It's like Chekhov's gun. You don't introduce the gun and not say anything, not do anything with it. It's just. I think you talk about it for 1 episode, and then the next episode you start whatever it is that you're going to do. Like you can end this episode could have started with them on the heist, in the middle of the heist, and then by the end of it, kind of a cliffhanger to the next episode to where they succeed or fail. The heist. Yeah. And then, but yeah, that's all I can say about it. It's like it was really. it was kind of disappointing, but it's like, I think it just, again, it's just, I mean, I don't want to be repetitive or beat the dead horse, but it's the episode count that really kills it.
100%. As I say, next week's the make. No, not. I don't want to say make or break because I'm not gonna stop watching it. I'm gonna obviously
Stop
carry on.
talking about it on.
We'll come back. Yeah, like it'll be. Yeah.
We can
so yeah, it'll be. Like, actually, if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't start doing something next week, then
No, I agree.
What will they do?
Because at some point we can't talk about 3 episodes of them talking about
exactly right. No,
and nothing happening.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah.
You know, we can talk about it in a whole after it's, you know.
Tune in for next week to find out if we actually can talk about something different apart from. I really hope so. I really hope so. But
anybody in the comment, please engage. You know,
I'll engage. The 3 of you that watch this and watch the show, please.
I did look at the people who like the counts on the YouTube videos, and it's like it's really low compared to
it's the She-Hulk episodes have lost more than what's watching Andor, and I'm yeah. It's kind of why I don't really care what I say right now because like who's gonna notice?
Because I mean, YouTube's not even gonna notice it. So, I mean,
YouTube's like, it's fine. No one's watching that anymore.
Like they're just talking about Andor. What's up?
It's like what even isn't Andor?
Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening to it, so don't worry.
So yeah, tune in next week. So bye bye.